We gnomes are gathered here today to honor our great leader, Moss Pants, who was injured creating brushes like so many others. But we gnomes, much like Lord Tyrvell, are masters of death, not its servants. Rise, citizens of Mosstown.
I'm missing a bunch of pieces from all my dreadnoughts, and something tells me you gnomes had something to do with it.
Even in death, we serve.
The Brutalis Dreadnought, the melee loadout of the Redemptor class Dreadnought. So many of you may already know the problem with this Dreadnought. It has an issue getting into melee. So today, we're going to talk about how do we get this into combat. But I am also going to cover its weapons and abilities. So let's start with deployment. What is the role of the Brutalis? And a lot of people might be thinking it's a midfield brawler. And if that's what you think or assume, you're not entirely wrong. But the problem with that is the Brutalis is missing the -1 to damage that the Redemptor has. And those damage negating abilities is really one of the hallmark signs of a midfield brawler. And the Brutalis is a beat stick unit, not designed to hold enemies up or fight for a couple turns, but to destroy them outright, immediately, and move on to the next one, or onto the objective. It is the melee target that your enemy is most afraid of, and it is relatively easy to take down. So where are we going to deploy this? Like with everything else, it's going straight into obscuring cover, but you really want to make sure it's towards the front line, because it does only have an 8-inch movement. Now, when you're deploying it, there's one thing I want you to remember. Pick a target. I think this is one of the most important ways to keep it alive. If you're running your Brutalis out into the open, hoping it finds something to charge into, or hopefully it gets to a target that's going to be sufficient, it's going to get taken off the board, or it's just going to be kited around. So when you're getting ready to deploy and you can see your opponent's army, I want you to pick a target, and I want you to deploy this after that target has been deployed, but also pick a second target just in case they decide to put that target into reserves. So how do we pick our targets wisely? It's important to remember a couple things. The Brutalis can go after anything, but you don't want to end up chasing something around and having it kite you. It is a beat stick, which means things like midfield brawlers want to be in combat with this to slow it down. And although it can be tempting to go into these units, oftentimes it's wiser to try to get around them and get into the squishy, meaty targets behind them. Obviously, vehicles are great choices for this, but so are elite infantry that are not midfield brawlers. And don't get me wrong, this can absolutely take down a group of midfield brawlers, but it's going to take a turn or two most of the time to get through them, and those units are designed to take the massive damage that the Brutalis can dish out and survive. Those targets are often better taken out by large amounts of fire. I really like the Brutalis in reserves, and we can also put it into deep strike with orbital assault force, which is huge. But we're going to talk about this mainly in basic reserves. One of the reasons I like it in reserve is that I can use rapid ingress on this and place it into a situation where they're not going to be able to fire into it regularly. Then I can move and almost guarantee I'm going to get a charge with this, and it's going to become a massive problem. Let's take a quick look at abilities, and then we'll come back to movement. So we make the charge, we're in combat. What is our ability? Let's take a look. The Brutalis has Brutalis Charge as its ability. Once you end a charge move, you're going to roll a d6. On 1, nothing. On a 2 to 3, you're going to do d3 mortal wounds. On a 4 to 5, you're going to do 3. And on a 6, you're going to do d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. At that point, my suggestion is to use Tank Shock. At this point, you've probably noticed the incredible amount of command points that you might need to operate the Brutalis Dreadnought. And you don't have to use Tank Shock. If you rapid ingress, there's a good chance you won't even need Tank Shock, but it's nice to have. Obviously, when you're moving the Brutalis Dreadnought, you're going to be hopping between cover, trying to keep yourself obscured until you can get that charge off. And one of the best things you can do is try to trade off well. So keeping something like a Lancer, a Ballistus, or Repulsor Executioner behind this, so if they move their anti-vehicle fire so that it can see the Brutalis, they're also in view of yours. So that in order to destroy it, they're going to have to lose one of their vehicles anyways. Let's take a look at the best part of the Brutalis. It's melee. And it has two options. The Brutalis Fists, which come with bolt rifles, and a lot of people are going to argue with me that this is the better option.
No, you're thinking of someone with two knives.
I gotta tell you, this is pretty terrific.
The Brutalis Talons are superior to the Brutalis Fists in every way. You do not need extra bolt rifles in your Space Marine army. And as you can see, you can go into infantry or vehicles and monsters with this. Doesn't really care. 6 attacks, 12 strength, -2, 3 damage. And then it has twin linked on top of it. Absolutely terrifying in melee. Now its sweeping profile has 10 attacks, 7 strength, -2 AP still, and 1 damage, while it's still being twin linked. This is going to rip through 1 wound infantry, no question about it. Now if you want to, you can use Oath of Moment on this as well. This target can act independently very well without Oath of Moment. It is exceedingly strong with Codex compliant Oath of Moment. That +1 to wound is truly terrifying into other vehicles. And if this is going into a vehicle or monster, I would recommend that always being the Oath target. Now, we have our ability, we have Tank Shot, we have its incredible melee profile. What does the Brutalis look like defensively? And often the Brutalis gets a bad rap because it is compared to the Redemptor. Now, it has the standard profile of any Redemptor class Dreadnought. An 8-inch move, 10 toughness, 12 wounds, 2+ save. Now, its profile is obviously strong. There's no question about that. But once you're on the board, you can see how easily this can go down. And compared to the Redemptor that has the -1 to damage, and the Ballistus that is probably sitting behind cover, this is going to be up in your opponent's face. So it can come off as a little bit weaker, but don't mistake it. It can definitely take a hit or two. One of the biggest problems people have with this is they don't pick a target and they rush it into the center without a plan. Even without that though, this is a prime target to take down. Armor of Contempt can honestly be a great choice here, and other detachment abilities that can reduce the damage coming into this. Now let's talk about the ranged weapons for the Brutalis. The Fists can have bolt rifles. We're going to forget about that. You're not even going to think about it. They're basically worthless. Now on top of its head, it's got a little hat. And that little hat is a Twin Icarus Iron Hail Heavy Stubber. Nothing really to say here. It's an extra couple pepper shots you can put into chaff. Now on the front of its chassis, it has the option between a Twin Heavy Bolter and a Twin Multi-Melta. Yes, the Twin Heavy Bolter has sustained 1. No, that is not the right choice. And people are going to argue with me that it is. But remember, this is going to be up in people's faces. So this is going to give you the option to hit vehicles if you need to, but at the range you're going to be hitting most infantry at, even infantry with 3 wounds, in Melta range, they're gone. So let's take a look at support units and detachments. And the Tech Marine with the Brutalis is an interesting situation. The +1 to its weapon skill and ballistic skill can be fairly useful. It can keep up with the Brutalis fairly easily by advancing, and it can still buff it. And the heal can be incredibly useful. But a lot of the times, you'll just take anti-vehicle fire, and this will be gone in 1 turn, and you're left with a Tech Marine sitting in the middle and open to fire. And you've invested those points for no reason. Because at this point, we've already invested a bunch of command points into this, and it is unwise to continue to sink even more points into it. Do not invest a quarter of your army into 1 Brutalis. The Tech Marine is probably better suited for another vehicle, a Lancer or a Repulsor Executioner or something like that. There are detachments where the Brutalis is a lot more powerful. So things like the Gladius Task Force, Blade of Ultramar, Spearpoint Task Force, Stormlance Task Force, where the Brutalis has an opportunity to advance and charge. This is really going to be a huge benefit to the Brutalis. In Hammer of Avernai and Ironstorm Spearhead, you have Adept of the Omnissiah. Once per battle round, taking an incoming damage to 0. But be aware of investing too many points into a single model, because investing too many points is a great way to overcommit and lose the entire game. This is a unit that I'm super excited to see how it changes in 11th edition, because there are certainly improvements that can be made to this. But I also look forward to hearing about your guys' experiences in the comments with the Brutalis. Let me know if this has been helpful at all. Let me know what you think they might change the Brutalis or what you want to see with it. And let me know your experience with the Brutalis. You could have just asked and I would have healed him. He's coming with me and all the Dreadnoughts are getting locked in the case.
I feel his touch upon me.
Our apologies, Lord Tyrell. Next time, we will burn our dead.
There's no ventilation down here, don't do that.